3 billion years ago, two dead stars collided in deep space. The explosion was so violent it forged heavy metals and hurled them across the galaxy. Some of that metal crashed into a young, lifeless planet we now call Earth. Fast forward a few billion years, humans evolved and we decided that this exact metal was the most valuable thing on the planet. We built empires for it, we killed millions for it, we enslaved entire continents for it. Today in 2026, gold is sitting at over $3,000 an ounce, the highest price in human history. This is not a story about a rock. This is a story about human psychology, about what we decide to value and the dark, bloody lengths we will go to possess it. This is the entire history of gold. Before we talk about what humans did with gold, we need to understand where it actually comes from. Because this fact alone should change how you look at it forever. Gold was not formed on Earth, it arrived here from space. The leading scientific theory is that gold was created billions of years ago when neutron stars, the densest object in the universe, collided. That collision released enough energy to forge gold and scatter it across the galaxy. Some of that gold, in the form of meteoroids, bombarded Earth about 3.9 billion years ago. But here is the crazy part. Most of it sinks deep into the Earth's core. It is completely unreachable. The Earth's mantle has roughly 1,000 times more gold than everything on the surface combined. But humans have been mining and fighting ore for 6,000 years. It's just the tiny leftover scrape of cosmic collision that happened before life even existed. Think about that. We built entire civilization on the leftover dust of a star explosion. So when did we first start picking it up? The oldest gold artifacts ever found was discovered in Bulgaria, in a place called the Varna necropolis. They date back to around 4600 BC. They weren't simple tools. They were intricate, beautifully crafted, and they were found buried with the dead, which tells you everything about what early humans being thought of gold. They didn't just like the way it looked, they believed it had power beyond this world. It was important enough to take with you into the afterlife. Around the same time, early civilization in the fertile Saracens began discovering gold, and a universal psychological trigger went off in the human brain. Gold does not rust, it does not corrode, it does not dull or fade. It's look the exact same the day you find it as it will 10,000 years from now. Early humans looked at everything around them, wood rotting, iron rusting, stone crumbling, and then they looked at gold. It was just sitting there, perfect, unchanged, like it was outside of the time. To the people who had no science to explain this, that wasn't just a physical property, that was divine. Gold was the material that gods were made of. Nobody took this belief further than ancient Egypt. To the Egyptians, gold was not symbolic of the gods, it literally was the gods. They called it the flesh of Ore, their sun god. Pharaohs wore it as a proof they were divine, not as a decoration, as a evidence. When Pharaoh Tutankhamun died at just 19 years old, he was buried with a funeral mask made of 11 kilograms of solid gold. His innermost coffin was made of 110 kilograms of solid gold. The message was clear. This was not a man who had died. This was a god returning to the realm of gold. And Egypt had a lot of it. Their main source was a region called Nubia, modern-day Sudan. The Egyptians controlled it so completely that for a period their hieroglyphs describe gold as being more plentiful than dirt in Nubia. They built Egypt on Nubian gold. And to keep that gold flowing, they kept Nubia under the brutal military occupation for centuries. This was the first time gold changed the course of history, but it would not be the last. Because soon gold would evolve from a symbol of power and to power itself. It was about to become money. For thousands of years, if you wanted to trade with gold, you had to wait. You had to test its purity. Every single transaction was slow, inconsistent, and wide open to fraud. But around 600 600 BC in the Kingdom of Lydia, modern-day Turkey, something happened that reshaped the entire world. Someone minted the first standardized gold coin. The Lydians solved the trust issue by stamping coin with an official king seal. A guaranteed weight, a guaranteed purity. It sounds simple, but the implications were enormous. Suddenly, a merchant in Lydia could travel to Greece, a place where he had no family, no reputation, no connections, and still conduct business, because everyone trusted the coin, not the man. Trade exploded. The Greeks took the idea and ran it with. Then the Persians. Then Alexander the Great, who after conquering Persia, found himself with the largest gold reserve in the ancient world. He used it to found the most ambitious military campaign in history.
Hold to your courage! Hold to your wit!
And then came the Romans. The Roman built the most sophisticated gold economy the Asian world had ever seen. Their gold coin, the aureus, funded their armies, their roads, and their political system. But as the empire grew, their gold supply started running short. They started slowly reducing the actual gold content in the coins. They replaced gold with the cheaper metal, but kept the same size and appearance. The citizens felt the coins getting lighter. They saw the color fading, inflation set in, trust collapsed. While Europe fell into the dark ages after Rome collapsed, the Islamic world built something extraordinary, the Islamic Golden Age. Running roughly from the 8th century to the 14th century, was a period of unprecedented scientific and economic advancement, and it reigned on gold. The Islamic gold dinar became the dominant international currency across the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. But the single most jaw-dropping gold story of the medieval period didn't come from the Islamic Khilafat, it came from the West Africa. In 1324, the emperor of the Mali Empire made a pilgrimage to Mecca. His name was Mansa Musa. He traveled with a caravan of 60,000 people, 12,000 slaves, each carrying 4 pounds of solid gold, and 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold. Let's do the math. This is roughly 72,000 pounds of pure gold. And today's money, that is over $3.4 billion. When Mansa Musa passed through Cairo, he spent so much gold on gifts, charity, and purchases that he single-handedly crashed the Egyptian economy. The price of gold plummeted so dramatically from his spending that it took 12 years for the Egyptian economy to recover. One man, one journey, he caused an inflation crisis across an entire continent just by passing through. Word spreading to Europe. Cartographers began drawing map of West Africa with Mali at the center, depicted with a gold crown and a gold orb. Europe realized something. There was a place in Africa where gold was limitless. The knowledge planted a seed in Europeans' mind that would not fully bloom for another 150 years. And when it did, the consequences would be catastrophic. 1492, Columbus reached the Americas. He was looking for Asia. What he found was a world Europe didn't know existed. And the very first thing Columbus noticed was the local people were wearing gold. The gold rush began. Within a few decades, Spain sent wave after wave conquistadors into the America with one explicit mission: find gold, take it, bring it back. In 1519, Hernan Cortes arrived in Mexico with 500 men. He encountered the Aztec Empire, one of the most sophisticated civilizations on earth. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, had a population larger than any city in Europe at the time. The Aztecs had enormous quantities of gold, but for them it was a spiritual, the sweet of the sun god, used for temples. For Cortes, it was a wealth, it was leverage. He manipulated, he allied with their enemies. And after a brutal 3-month siege, he took the city. The treasure he seized was valued at 2 billion pesos. But the Aztec artifacts, objects of extraordinary culture and spiritual significance, were melted down immediately into bars, shipped to Spain, gone forever. Then came Francisco Pizarro, 1532. Peru. The Inca Empire, even wealthier than the Aztecs. Pizarro captured the Inca Emperor Atahualpa and offered him a deal. Fill a room 17 feet wide and 22 feet long with gold, up to a line 8 feet high, and Pizarro would release him. Atahualpa agreed. his people stripped temples across the empire. They delivered 6,000 kilograms of high-quality gold in just few months, the largest ransom in human history. Pizarro took the gold, melted it all down, and executed Atahualpa anyway. In the first half century of the Spanish conquest, over 100 tons of gold were extracted from the Americas. The indigenous people who mined it were worked to death. When they ran out, the Spanish brought Africa slaves to replace them. Spain became the richest country in the world, but so much gold flooded Europe the prices rose 300% in Spain within a century. Their economy overheated, their manufacturing died. The wealth distributing the modern world was built of the destruction of two of the greatest civilizations that ever existed. Now jump forward to January 24, 1848. A carpenter named James Marshall is building a sawmill in California. He spots something glinting in the water. Word spreads, and one of the most dramatic human migration in history happens. 300,000 people float into California in less than 2 years. San Francisco goes from a settlement of 200 people to a boomtown of 36,000. The California Gold Rush built the American West. It funded the Transcontinental Railroad. It accelerated California into statehood, but it was the nightmare for the people already here. It caused death of tens of thousands of native Californians, massacres, forced displacement. California's first governor, Peter Burnett, said publicly that the inevitable destiny of the race is extermination. He said that officially. Then in 1851, gold was discovered in Australia. Another rush, another mass migration. Then in 1884, the largest gold deposit in history was discovered in South Africa. The Witwatersrand rained, a gold reef that ran for miles underground. Bretton wanted it. The Boer settlers who controlled the region wanted to keep it. What followed was the Anglo-Boer War of 1899 to 1902. Britain built what were effectively horrific concentration camps, internment camps to hold Boer civilians. Over 100,000 people died for a gold mine. South Africa went on to become the world's largest gold-producing country, built on the backs of black South Africans miners, working in brutal conditions that would later contribute to the political conditions that produced apartheid. By the late 1800s, gold had moved from a symbol of divinity to a medium of exchange to the literal foundation of global economics. The gold standard. The idea was elegant. Each country currency was directly tied to a fixed amount of gold. 1 British pound equaled a specific weight of gold. $1 equaled a specific weight of gold. Because everyone's currency was tied to gold, exchange rates were stable. International trade flourished. Britain formalized it in 1816. By the 1870s, most major economics had joined. For the first time in history, the global economy had a common language, and that language was gold. It worked for a while, then World War I started. Governments needed to spend vastly more than they had in gold, so they did the only thing they could do. They started printing money not backed by anything. One by one, they abandoned the gold standard to fund the war. After the war, they tried to go back, but they couldn't make it work. The Great Depression hit. Governments needed to print money to save their economies, but the gold standard stopped them. In 1933, US President Franklin Roosevelt made a move so dramatic it's hard to imagine today. He made it illegal for American citizens to own gold. He issued an executive order requiring every American to hand over their gold to the Federal Reserve in exchange for dollars. You could be imprisoned for not complying. The government collected the gold, and then immediately after collecting it, they devalued the dollar. They paid people $20 per ounce to hand it in. Then they revalued gold at $35 per ounce. In one executive order, the US government transferred massive wealth of ordinary citizens to the federal government. In 1944, World War II is ending. The world needs a new economic order. 42 nations sent a representative to a hotel in Bretton, New Hampshire. Their job: build a system that would prevent the currency chaos of the 1930s from ever happening again. The system they designed was built around one fact: America won the war. America had the strongest economy. America was holding 2/3 of all the gold in the world. So they made the US dollar the anchor of global finance. Every currency in the world would be pitched to the US dollar, and the dollar would be patched to the gold at 35 an ounce. If any country country wanted to exchange their dollar for gold, America promised to honor that exchange anytime. For a moment, it worked brilliantly. The post-war boom, the rebuilding of Europe. But America had a problem it wasn't admitting out loud. Vietnam, the Cold War. Massive military spending. The US was printing dollars to pay for all of it. Far more dollars than they had gold to back. Other countries noticed, France especially. In the late 1960s, France began demanding physical gold for their dollars, shipped from Fort Knox to Paris. Charles de Gaulle publicly said that America was essentially printing the world's reserve currency and spending it on wars. He was right. Other countries started doing the same thing. America's gold reserves started failing fast. Then on August 15, 1971, a Sunday evening, Richard Nixon appears on television. He announced he was closing the gold window, effective immediately. No country, no government, nobody could exchange their dollars for gold anymore. The link was broke. It was supposed to be temporary. It was called the Nixon shock. No one was consulted, not the other major economies, not even his own State Department. It was permanent. From that moment, the dollar became what economists called fiat currency. Money backed not by gold but by trust, by the belief that the US government promises was worth something. The entire global finance system, every dollar, pound, euro or yen in existence today is built on that trust. There is nothing behind it but confidence. Gold set at $35 an ounce in 1971. By 1980, it hit $800. By 2022, $2,000. By 2026, over $3,000. The moment the dollar left gold, gold began its long climb back toward the market decided it was really worth. Today, the world produces about 3,300 tons of gold every year. Total gold ever mined in human history, around 200,000 tons. If you melted all of it into a single cube, it would be about 22 meters on each side. That is all of it. Every gold bar in every wallet, every wedding ring, every gold tooth, every gold circuit in every computer. Central banks around the world hold gold as their ultimate reserve asset. When everything else fails, currencies, bonds, stocks, gold holds. The US hold 8,133 tons. Germany hold 3,352. China holds at least 2,235 tons officially. The most analysts believe the real number is significantly higher. China and Russia have been buying gold aggressively for years, deliberately reducing their dependence on the US dollar, moving toward a world where America cannot simply freeze your asset by controlling the currency you hold. Gold is how you opt out of the dollar system. Meanwhile, gold inside your phone, your laptop, your cars, electronics, it is the best conductor of electricity that does not corrode. The world uses about 300 tons of gold in electronics every year. Most of it is never recovered. We are literally burying gold in landfills. But a central bank hold this metal by the ton. The demand has to come from somewhere, and the system that feeds that demand looks exactly it did in 1500. In the Amazon rainforest of Peru, illegal miners are pouring mercury into rivers right now to extract gold. 94% of the people in the affected region have mercury in their blood above safe levels. In eastern Congo, armed militias controlling gold mines. Children as young as 8 years old are digging gold out of the ground. The gold funds the weapons that keep the war going. The war keeps the people desperate enough to work the mines. That gold travels to Dubai, it gets refined, it gets a new certificate, it loses its history, and it enters the global market as clean, legitimate gold. In your electronics, in a gold bar sitting in a wallet somewhere. 600,000 years of human history, and the same story keeps repeating. Someone finds gold, someone more powerful decide they want it, and the people who actually pull it from the ground are the last ones to benefit from it. Gold was here before us. It arrived from a neutron star collision billions of years ago. It has watched every empire rise and fall. Egypt, Rome, Spain, Britain, America, Osmania. Every single one of them eventually found that gold was not enough to save them. And yet here we are, 2026, gold at 3,000 an ounce. Central banks buying it. Countries moving away from the dollar and toward it. And children in Congo still pulling it out from the ground for almost nothing. The metal has not changed, not once in 6,000 years. We are the ones who keep changing, and we are the ones who keep making the exact same choices. If you want to understand the choices humanity makes next, whether it's about gold, AI, or the next global crisis, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.